And this brings us to a second area that is terribly important, and this is an area that only top people ever really think of. The great majority, the bottom 80%, never think about a mission at all. They think a mission is a place that the Spanish friars set up along the California coast. They don't understand a mission, and most corporations don't understand missions. I've worked and done strategic planning for many companies, including multi-billion-dollar companies, and they're very confused about what a mission is. So I've studied this at great length, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your mission. So we say here, is you are here to do something wonderful with your life. Remember we said at the beginning, God don't make no junk, and God doesn't make anybody extra. Everybody here comes into this world with a special mission. And the only question is, will you fulfill your mission? And sometimes I think of a kind of a little story. Imagine that you died and went to heaven. And you got up to the pearly gates, and there's St. Peter, and you in line, and St. Peter opens up the book, and he says, holy smokes, you're here. Wow. Geez, we are so happy to have you here. What an incredible life you lived. And you said, well, I didn't live that much of a life. You know, I worked for a living, owed a lot of money, and, you know, had a couple of kids. No, we sent you down there, structured, genetically programmed to accomplish extraordinary things. You were supposed to make breakthroughs in science and literature, and you were supposed to become the head of a major corporation that would save the lives of thousands of people. You were supposed to, you didn't do any of that? What on earth did you do for 65 or 75 years? Well, I shoveled shit in Shabokin, you know, and got my pension and went home and sat and watched the TV, reality shows. Oh my God, we sent you down there with so much potential and we had such high hopes for you. Oh, what a disappointment. My thought was that, just imagine if you arrived up in heaven and they said, we had structured you and engineered you and designed you and put you in the right place, in the right society, at the right time, with the right parents and the right experiences, so that you could make an extraordinary difference to humanity, and you didn't do it? Everybody here has the ability to do something extraordinary with their lives. And starting to think about that is the turning point of your life. And every great man or woman who actually made a contribution started to think about it at an early age. I had a gentleman in my seminar, and he had gone to college, nice guy, wasn't too outgoing, took chemistry. He sort of fell in love with chemistry, interest, attention, absorption, and he got into chemistry, and he just loved chemistry. He decided to devote his life to chemistry. And he said, I want to make a major contribution in the world of chemistry, and the way I will know that is if I win a Nobel Prize. And so he went to work in chemistry, he got his master's degree, he got his PhD, he became a professor of chemistry at a leading university. He cooperated and worked with other people who were working on a particular breakthrough design. It said it took him 20 years, but on the 20th year, they got the Nobel Prize in chemistry, the three of them together. He said, I always knew I'd get a Nobel Prize. I always knew I'd make a significant contribution to the world of chemistry, and he kept that as his beacon, his guiding light for his entire career. And he said, I would have worked another 10 or 20 years. I always knew I would do it. He had a personal mission, and he knew he was put here on earth to make a difference in chemistry. So the question is, you know, we just have to think, what is ours? So something that makes a difference in the lives of others. Now, if you're writing a business mission, your business mission is always defined in terms of the difference that you want to make in the lives of other people, how you want to improve their life or work. And so when I work with corporations, you don't say, you know, we want to be the best in high-tech innovation. What the heck is that? The best in high-tech innovation is we want to make technical innovations that dramatically enhance the quality of the life of our customers. And so that's something, we can get around. Merck is very famous. Merck is famous for having a mission statement that is our goal is to bring medicines to alleviate the suffering of the people of the world, something like that. Then they spend fortunes on developing medicines for tribes in Africa. One is blackwater fever, another one has to do with river blindness, and there's no money because these people can never pay for this, and of the number of people who can use it, there's not enough money to make a lot of profit. They say that's not written in our mission statement. Profit is not in our mission statement, alleviating the suffering of people that we can help with medical technologies. So they spend fortunes developing medicines from which they can never make any money. And do you think the people at Merck are not wired overworking at that company because of their commitment to alleviating suffering, even if there's no money in it? And that tends to be common with most of the drug companies, by the way. So if you want to have a family mission statement, like Stephen Covey recommends in 7 Habits, your family mission statement is what you want to achieve for your family. Barbara's and my family mission statement from the very beginning is we want to raise children with high levels of self-confidence and self-esteem who feel capable of doing anything when they leave our home. That has been our organizing principle from the very beginning. We never deviated from it, and nothing we've ever done with our children has been a deviation from that simple mission. And that organizes everything you do and the time that you spend and the opportunities you provide and the interaction you have and so on. But thinking these things through is really, really important, because the greater clarity you have about your mission, the more likely it is you will bring the mission to fruition. You will actually realize the mission. A mission, by the way, is, remember Mission Impossible? If you accept this mission, blah, blah, blah. A mission is always something that can be achieved. When it's achieved, you can go home. Okay? Now, it may not be achieved in your lifetime, but when the mission is achieved, it is achievable. So AT&T, for example, had one of the most famous mission statements is to bring a telephone within the reach of every American. And what they did is they hit that by the 60s and 70s, even to rural America. Every American had a telephone. The government gave them a monopoly on telephones for the telephone systems, and they made $jillions of dollars, but then they achieved their mission. And one of the great complaints in the business schools is they did not reformulate a mission. Now what's your mission? As a result, the company began to drift. Because it drifted, it began to get broken up by the government. Now you have Nextel, and you have Verizon, and you have still have AT&T, and you have T-Mobile, and you have all the other telephone companies that broke up or formed or competed with them because they lost their guidance. They had no sense. They were just wandering. Maybe it's profit, maybe it's technology, maybe it's growth, maybe it's earnings per share. They just had no mission. And as a result, they were just torn to pieces by competition. So be clear about your mission. And once you've achieved your mission, well then you set another mission. And the other mission is greater. So Albert Schweitzer's mission, and I worked with Dr. Albert Schweitzer in Africa. One of the great formative experiences of my life is to treat the sick in Central Africa. Now, his mission was to do it until they were all treated, but this is a mission that had no end. And, however, his mission was how many people he could treat in a year, how many people his hospital could treat. When I worked at his hospital in Lamborghini on the Uruguay River, they had about 150 professionals, of which 50 were doctors, and 100 were professional technicians that ran X-ray and medicine and labs from Europe, and they'd come from all over the world. It was the most amazing place, and all these people just lived and breathed to provide for people who would come from down the Uruguay River from Central Africa. They would bring their suffering to Le Docteur, And when he started off in Central Africa, the story is quite phenomenal. He made a little sign, and there's a photograph of it there, and it says Le Docteur, the French for doctor, and he had it on a tent and a little table in front. And he said, basically, the office is open. And people began to come to get treated by Le Docteur. And by the time he was finished, he was the greatest humanitarian in the world. There are more hospitals named after Albert Schweitzer than any other name in the world. And I worked with Schweitzer. I was in his hospital for only 10 days. I met him and spoke to him every day for 10 days. And I never recovered. He was an amazing man. Amazing man. He could look you in the eye, and you would want to just forget your whole life and come and work for him for the rest of your life. He would meet a doctor in Tokyo or London or Paris or New York, and who was a specialist in their field, top of their field, and he would say, come to Africa for 2 years and work with me. And they'd say, okay. And they'd shut down their practice, and they'd pack up their family, and they'd go and live in Central Africa in a little cabin for 2 years and bring their specialty to Africa. And nobody ever refused Dr. Schweitzer. He was the nicest, gentlest, most loving, kindest man. He just looked into your eyes, and you were never the same again. I spoke to people there who had gotten the Schweitzer treatment. People said, nah, no way. Dr. Pope was a man that was very close to in his hospital. Dr. Pope was traveling through Africa. He was sort of an adventurer. He finished college and finished medical school. And then he decided to take off a couple of years. He was traveling through Africa, visited Dr. Schweitzer. And he said, Dr. Schweitzer said, I need your help. He said, great, great. He said, no, I don't need your help now. I said, I need a pediatrician here. I need a specialist in child medicine. And what I need you to do is go back to London, go back to medical school, and get a doctorate, a specialist in pediatric medicine, and then come back. Would you do that for me? And he said, no effing way. He said, no, I'm young. He said, I'm not going to come to this place. And he told me, he said, he went away, traveled throughout Africa, went back to Europe, and he just couldn't get it out of his mind. And finally, he wrote to the doctor, and he said, you still want me to come? And he said, yes, we. And so he went back to medical school in England. He got a degree in pediatrics, during which he got married, had 2 children, and then he moved his whole family to Africa to work for Dr. Schweitzer. So sometimes somebody with a really powerful mission can really have an enormous impact. And his mission was very simple, to treat the sick in Central Africa, the people who had no treatment. Mother Teresa actually became, he was called the greatest humanitarian of the 20th century until Mother Teresa. After he died, Mother Teresa was elevated, and her mission statement was to comfort the dying. Are you familiar with that? I mean, just to comfort the dying. She saw that these people were left in the street, they were poor, they were untouchable, nobody would help them, so she just began going into the street to take care of the dying, to bring them into hospices, and to take care of them in their last few days or last few hours. And she became perhaps the most famous and respected woman in the world, from coming from an impoverished background in Skopje, Albania. In Albania, not Skopje, but in Albania, and joining the Catholic Church and having this mission to go to Africa. And when she got to Africa, she saw her mission was to comfort the dying. Most amazing darn thing. So these are huge missions. I'm not suggesting that we have them, but we really need to have a central organizing principle. So we say your mission gives you greater meaning and purpose in life. And virtually all research on psychology says that you only become happy and fulfilled when you have meaning and purpose in life, when you have a reason for living, when you have a reason that is bigger than you. And it's got to be bigger than you, and it's got to be something that goes beyond you. Your meaning and purpose in life can't be making and spending a whole bunch of money. People who have that as their purpose are not ever happy and not ever satisfied. One of the wonderful things, excuse me, about marriage is that when you get married, you have meaning and purpose. And your meaning and purpose is to make your wife happy. Excuse me, I've got to remember it. Don't inhale when you swallow. And so your purpose is to make your wife happy, and when you have children, then your purpose is to make your children happy and take care of your children. So being married actually gives you a sense of meaning and purpose and fulfillment that's really terrific. And nothing can replace it. Not all the money in the world, nothing can replace that. So it's possible for all of us to have a mission, even if it's just a family mission, to raise happy, healthy, self-confident children. Jeff Gold, where are you, Jeff? Jeff and I were talking about that at the break. And that's his mission, is to raise his children to be happy, healthy, self-confident, with high self-esteem. And that's his central organizing principle. And sometimes people ask me, what do you do for a living, or what is your job? My job is to raise my kids, take good care of my kids and family, and everything else is secondary to that. There's just different ways of achieving that. So you need mission, meaning and purpose, and meaning and purpose is what gets you out of bed, it makes you happy and makes you excited. It's something that motivates you and inspires you. The idea of achieving your mission is something that never stops making you happy. Imagine achieving the mission of comforting the dying. Do you know how Mother Teresa motivates her nuns to take these dirty, smelly, covered with crap people laying in the streets and bathe them and clean them and take care of them and feed them in their last few hours? She said, imagine that each person you treat is the body of Christ down from the crucifix, and that you are taking care of Christ in his last moments on earth. And so everybody who works for her sings while they work. They are so happy because their mindset is they're actually bathing the body of Christ, which is quite a thought. I'm not a fanatical Christian of any kind, but I think it's quite a thought, and it's quite an inspiration. And so people line up to get into her Missionaries of Charity in Calcutta, or at least they lined up when she was still alive. So it inspires them, and they're inspired all the time they do it. They get up in the morning, and they can hardly wait to go out and do it. It's something that you would love to do every day. It's something that you would love to do every day. Your mission is something that fulfills you. It's not something you have to force yourself to do, is you just can't keep yourself away. And it's something that you really believe in. You really believe in a deep level. You believe in the goodness of what you are committed to as a mission. You believe in the deep goodness. This is really a good thing. That's why your mission can only be something that enhances the lives of other people. People cannot have a mission to enhance their own life, to make a lot of money, to be rich and things like that, because there's just no joy there. There's no sizzle to the steak. There's no effervescence. I learned something that is not in this course, but it was a great insight for me, and it is that there is no joy in things. It's a very simple thing. I thought, wow, there is no joy in things. You can get all the things in the world, and there's no joy in them. They just lie there. They're inert substances. They're like stones. They have no joy in them. The only thing that has joy is other people. The only thing that has joy is the relationships with other people, and the greatest of all joys is where we can do something that enhances the life of other people. You know that wonderful little line that George Bush I had, is small, unnoticed acts of kindness that you could do throughout life. Go through life doing little acts of kindness that nobody ever sees or appreciates. You never try to get credit for it. You just do it and go on. And just doing those things. And that's why in the Bible, Jesus says it is more blessed to give than to receive. Why? It's because you get far more joy from doing something to help other people, especially the people you love, than the other person gets. Sometimes the other person gets minor joy, but you get great joy from it. So it's something that you believe in, something that gives you happiness and satisfaction. So we say 3, your mission often emerges from within yourself. Often people are saying, well, I'm looking for my mission. Well, you don't often find your mission. Many people don't find their mission until their 30s or 40s or 50s. Dr. Albert Schweitzer decided upon his mission when he was 30. And he was already he was the top Bach organist in Europe. He was the equivalent of a musical superstar, and he played in the great concert halls of Europe, and people bought out the tickets and sold out the venues well before he came because he played so beautifully. When we were in the hospital, Dr. Schweitzer would play the piano or the organ every night at dinner when all the staff was working at dinner. He'd be led up to the piano, and he was 91 at that time, and he would just play the piano. 10 days after I left his village, I said goodbye to him when I left. 10 days after I left his village, he died in his sleep. Very interesting thing. So your mission emerges from within yourself. It's just something that starts to call to you. It's something that's sort of almost like distant music. You can hear it. So you ask this question, and this is really the great question in goal setting and personal meaning and purpose. What do I really want to do with my life? If I had unlimited resources, what do I really want to do with my life? I only have one life, and you know the old saying, this life is not a rehearsal for something else. This is the real one. What do I want to do with my life? I've met people who had near-death experiences. They've almost died in a car crash, or they've almost died in a natural disaster or a concentration camp. And when they came back, wow, they did not waste any time. They were crystal clear about what they wanted to do with their life, and they threw their heart into it with a passion, and often lived 10 or 20 years longer than their peers. Because when you are doing something that's really important, that you feel is benefiting others, you just live year after year after year. It just makes you healthier, makes you stronger, makes you give you greater clarity of mind, and so on. So what do you really want to do with your life? What moves you emotionally? What sort of subjects move you emotionally? What kind of people and situations and circumstances move you emotionally when you see them, hear about them, learn about them, read about them? And what do you feel passionate about? Now, let me say this, is that if you start a business to make money, you may make money, but you'll never really be happy, because their whole focus will be on what can I do to make more money. If you start a business to serve people with a product or service that they need to improve the quality of their life, their work, their family, then you can become passionate about it. I did a talk for Walmart a couple of years ago in St. Louis. It was quite a remarkable experience, because they actually flew 6 executives out to San Diego to meet with me for a day to plan a half-day talk. And they all flew out coach. They slept 2 to a room in a local motel. They came to my office and they spent the day with me. And they're very, very nice men. Anybody who ever criticizes Walmart knows nothing about it. What they're saying, if you criticize Walmart, you say, I'm a stupid person. because I really don't know what I'm talking about. The president of Walmart came to address the gathering. I was speaking for them for about 3 hours. I did a beautiful workbook for them. It was a great experience. And he came out, and they had 25, 30,000 Walmart people. They have a whole Walmart convention each year. They take over the major convention center and they build a Walmart store on the playing field within the not the convention center, the major stadium. On the football field, they build a Walmart store, and then they have Walmart displays and new products and services, and they take over the whole town. This was at 2,000 of their people in the ophthalmology division, but they had all kinds of meetings. So the president came over and came in to give a talk, and he gave a brief talk. He was very fluent, and came in, and he said, our mission at Walmart, he said, never forget, ladies and gentlemen, our mission here is to improve the quality of the life of our customers by giving them more products at a lower price than they can get anywhere else, so they have more money to spend on their families and their children. That's our mission. He got a standing ovation. Those people came off their chairs like they were electrified. Every single person who works for Walmart believes they have a holy mission to bring excellent products to people in America who live from paycheck to paycheck to enhance the quality of their life so they have more money for their families and children. That's the organizing mission of Walmart. And everybody believes it with a passion. And that gets them going in the morning, gets them up, and surprise, surprise, makes them the biggest company in the world because of their mission, their total passionate dedication to helping people who live from paycheck to paycheck, who don't have any money to spare, who can't make a mistake when they buy something. You and I can buy something that doesn't work, we chuck it in a closet. People who don't have any money can't make a mistake like that. And they fight for those people, and they guarantee everything. Right next to the door, when you go into a Walmart, what do you see? Right next to the front door, what do you see when you go into Walmart? You see the returns department. Anybody who ever buys a Walmart product that they're not happy with, they just go right into the store, and there it is, and they return your money cheerfully because they don't want you ever to buy anything you're not happy with at Walmart. And if you ever find a product that they sell cheaper somewhere else, you bring a copy of the advertisement, and they will refund the difference immediately. They give you the cash difference. Because they are so passionately committed to their customers. So you can have a business like that, and a business can be a 1 or 2 or 3 business person as long as your business is focused on helping other people. Because here's the wonderful thing, that someone wrote a book on this many years ago, do what you love, the money will follow. Do what you love, the money will follow. So if you're doing what you love, which helps other people, the money will follow. But all the time when you're doing it, the joy is there. You're happy. Sometimes you'll struggle for years, and people struggle for 5 to 7 years before their business becomes profitable. That's standard for the industry, for new business. However, is all the time you're doing it, you love your business. You love going to work because you know you're making a difference in the lives of other people. If ever you stop making a difference, it's time to do something else. So what do you feel passionate about? And remember, but I want to tell you that one of the highest forms of human life is capitalism. Capitalism is where men and women go into the marketplace to serve their fellow men and women with products and services that they want and need and are willing to pay for that will enhance the quality of their life and work, and they purchase them on a voluntary basis in competition and comparison with everything else that's available. Anybody who attacks capitalism, again, is saying, I'm a very stupid person. I don't know anything about the way the world works. Because all capitalism is based on voluntary action. Is going to people and saying, please buy my product or service and let me show you why it is the very best choice for you of all choices available, and I'll stand behind it. That's a pretty good mission. And it puts a very high standard, very high bar to jump on the back of the business person, because they have to prove over and over again that what they're offering is superior to anything else that's being offered, and they have to stand behind it. That's why the capitalist or the free market societies are the most prosperous societies throughout all of history, because everybody is competing to serve people with better products and services at lower prices in a completely open market where people are free to choose the product or service. So if you're in business, you can be proud of being in business. You can be proud of being out there and competing to take care of people, to serve other people. So look into the past to discover your future. First of all, what sort of activities make you the happiest? When you're doing these activities, what sort of activities make you the happiest? I sometimes think about that with regard to speaking, and what I've come to the conclusion is, I've spoken for probably 200, 300 Fortune 500 companies. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of big businesses worldwide, $1 billion businesses. But I like speaking to entrepreneurs and salespeople and independent business people. I like speaking to people who see themselves as responsible for their own lives and their own incomes, as opposed to staff people who see the company as responsible for them. It's the most amazing thing. I used to sell audio programs before they became damn near obsolete. And I've sold hundreds of millions of audio programs over the years. And I would notice that if people were independent thinkers, they were self-reliant, self-responsible, they would buy the programs. I always guaranteed them for a year, so there's really no downside risk. But people who were employees who were sent to my seminars, they sat on their hands. They would never buy anything for their own self-development because they did not see themselves as responsible for their own lives. This is up to the company. If the company wants me to listen to one of these, they should buy it for me, bring it out to my car, and put it in my player. They should give me time off, and they should pay for the course. I was giving a seminar in Milwaukee some years ago, and it was an all-day seminar. The first part of the day was on time management. The second part of the day was on effective communication and negotiation. Now, these are subjects that are of interest to everybody. They didn't tell me that they had sold to a whole bunch of companies. But anyway, so the seminar ended at, say, 4:30. And I think, I'm sorry, it ended at 5. It ended at 5:30, I'm sorry. So it ends at 5:30, and so I'm giving this seminar. I'm talking about negotiating strategies and tactics, which are really interesting subjects. How you can get a better price when you are buying, how you can get a better price when you're selling, different tactics that good negotiators use, and so on. And I'm in the midst of this. It's the second to the last part of the seminar, and 300 people in an 800-person audience got up and walked out. I mean, they got up in clumps from all over, and they got up in groups. There was never no individuals. There were groups 5, 8, 12. They just got up, and they all moved their way down, like in a movie theater. People had to move their knees. They moved their way down, and they all walked out. Now, if you're in a seminar, if I was in a seminar, and these 3 people just got up and walked out as when I was speaking, it's shocking if 3 people would do that. It's just not done. It's not the done thing, you know. But 300, I couldn't, out of 800, I was, so I, took a deep breath, smiled, and said, went back to completing the seminar. And afterwards, I asked my promoter, Steve, I said, what happened? Did I say something? I mean, what did I say that offended so many people? He said, no. He said, as we were getting toward the end of the promotion for the seminar, we hadn't sold a lot to private business, so we went to the government. And it was in like November, and the government has a training budget. So they went to several government departments, and the government departments passed them around, and so they could send people here to burn up the training budget for the year so they wouldn't have to give it back. So they sent 300 people from the government for this seminar, which is time management and communication, which is subjects that are helpful to people in any field. But they all got off at 5 o'clock. And they were entitled, because of their contract, at 15 minutes to 5, they could leave because they were allowed 15 minutes to get back to their car. That's in a government contract. So the day officially ends at 4:45 so that they have time to close up their briefcase and walk to their cars. So when they get to their car, it's 5 o'clock. It's 4:45, they got up, and 300 of them walked out. In the middle of a seminar that was highly beneficial to them. I still remember, wow, these are people who accept no sense of personal responsibility. They're only there because they were sent by their boss. They're passive. They're like docile sheep. If you like, they just are herded from place to place. You are the kind of people I love to work with. Highly self-responsible, high energy, focused, goal-setting types of people. Anyway, so what activities make you the happiest? Working with you makes me the happiest. What do you like to learn about? What do you like to read about? What kind of books do you like to study? What kind of magazines and articles do you take? That's a real good indication of what might be your personal mission. What subjects attract and hold your attention? Is when you're passing by, you see a book there, you see somebody reading something, or you see a billboard, you can always tell because it'll reach out, it'll grab you. It'll grab you, it'll just grab your attention. And if it doesn't grab you, people say, well, you should read subjects in areas that are different from your current career, your current work. That's a very nice thing to say, but it's nonsense because you have no interest in subjects that are different from what you're doing today. Anyway, so your personal mission, look at yourself today to find your mission. Look at yourself today. What are you very good at doing? What are you very good at doing? That's often an indicator of what your mission should be. I have to tell you a great story. Many years ago, before I met Barbara, of course, I was going out with a young woman, and we went to a restaurant in a place called the Gas Lamp District. It's called Gastown in Vancouver. And in Gastown, it used to be really a lousy area, but they changed it all. They put in all restaurants and everything else, beautiful restaurants, boutiques. They completely modernized it. So I went to this little Italian restaurant, and I had traveled in Europe a lot, and I was trying to impress her. And so the waiter came. He was a very nice guy, very friendly, charming, and he had an Italian accent. He said, "How can I help you?" I said, "Well, I've never been to this restaurant before." I said, "Can you give us any recommendations?" And he said, "Are you willing to be a little daring?" he said. And I said, "Yes." He said, "Then leave it to me. I will select the wine, I will select the food, I will select everything." He said, "I'll take care of everything for you." And I was trying to impress her. That man of the world. Sure, I've seen this in Europe. I mean, often the waiters will be very, very helpful. I said, "Sure, you take care of everything." And then I said to myself, "Oh my God, what is this going to cost? You know, is it going to bring me truffles and caviar and $300 bottles of wine and everything else?" So I'm trying to, put this bravado on. And so he brought the wine. He said, "This wine we just have it. It comes from Italy. It's blah, blah, blah." And then they served the whole dinner was just a marvelous experience. And at the end, the bill was quite reasonable. It was no different than it would have been if I'd ordered myself. And I turned to him and I said, "Remember this story, Cam?" I turned to him and I said, "How long have you been here?" He said, "Just here about 6 months." He learned English in Milan, so he had some English. I said, "Why are you working in this restaurant?" He said, "Well, it's my first job." He said, "I have to have a job of some kind." He said, "But my goal is to open a restaurant someday." I said, "What is your name?" He said, "My name is Umberto." Umberto, I think it's Umberto Fellini, is that it? Remember his last name? It's Umberto. I said, "Umberto," I said, "you're not going to be in this restaurant very long." This guy had star quality. I mean, you could see the star quality. He loved working in a restaurant. He loved serving food. He just loved it. Well, but a year and a half later, Cam invited me out for dinner with 2 other couples, and we all went to dinner. And they said, "We're going to go to this new restaurant. It's been built in an old house on a side street, and it's called Umberto's." I said, "Umberto's, that's really interesting." And it was Umberto. He had gotten together the money. He'd bought an old rat trap house. It should probably have been torn down. And had made this room, little bedroom, this living room. They were all little dining rooms, and they had a kitchen. And Umberto was literally in constant motion through this restaurant. It came back, every table and everything else. I said, "I remember you from down in Gaslamp." He said, "Oh, well, grazie, grazie." And he was dressed beautifully, and he just ran that restaurant. Every single person felt that he was waiting on them personally. And we said, "That's a great experience." I knew this guy was going to get a restaurant. Next thing you know, he bought the land next to him and the house next, and he put a ramp, and he built a second restaurant. So this was Umberto's Italian restaurant. This was Umberto's European restaurant. Then he built a massive restaurant called Umberto's La Gardenia, was it? It was Umberto's Garden, but it's a restaurant that holds about 400 or 500 people, and he built ramps in between. And so you go to any one of those 3 restaurants, and they are all rated as top restaurants in Vancouver. Then he built restaurants in San Francisco and Toronto. The guy's a gillionaire. The guy's become a multimillionaire, one of the most respected business people in his field, or the top restaurateurs in his field. But if anywhere you go in these restaurants is within, a couple of minutes, there's Umberto. He's going by, checking the table, he's adjusting it, pouring a little bit of wine here, adjusting your napkin. It's almost like he's personally waiting on everybody in all 3 restaurants. And you could see that star quality. This guy just loved restaurant. He loved waiting on people. And he loved serving them good food. And boy, what he did was just a remarkable phenomenon. So what are you very good at doing? What is your personal area of excellence? What are you really excellent at doing? What could you be excellent at if you just put a little bit more work into it? What would you like to be excellent at? What would you like people to say that you're really excellent at? And then, what has been most responsible for your successes in life so far? In other words, what have you done in the past, going back sometimes to your teenage years when you were in school and you got involved in projects or your first jobs? What was responsible for your biggest successes? What was it that you had? Your ability to organize people, your ability to plan events, your ability to negotiate or persuade, your ability to, to be able to, to work with people, your ability to, to be able to, 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 Everybody has something that in their life they've done really, really well in their work. And so you have to look into yourself to see what it might be. And then imagine no limitations when you define your mission. When you define your mission, most people say, well, this is what I'd really like to do, but I can't because. Always, but I can't because. Yes, but I can't because. And so what you do is you imagine the magic wand, and imagine that you have all the money you need. All the money you need. And imagine that you have all the talents and skills that you need to achieve your mission. Remember, feelings of inferiority are what hold us back. Feelings of inadequacy are the greatest enemies that we have. We feel that we're not good enough to do something as great and as profound as we would like to do. And then imagine you have all the people and contacts. Is that you could pick up the phone and you know people. And you know it is quite remarkable that there's 6 degrees of separation. You're 6 degrees or 6 calls away from almost anybody in the world. And it is quite amazing. Sometimes you're only 2 calls away. You call somebody and you say, do you know somebody? Do you know this person? And they say, no, I don't know that person, but I know somebody who knows somebody who does. You're just a couple of calls away. And quite often you can get through to the person that you want to talk to, or at least get them a letter or a message. So imagine that you have all the contacts, and that if you want to get more contacts, you can. One of the things that I say I teach is that if you want to make contacts with key people, fish where the fish are. Join the associations that they belong to. Join the business organizations that they go to. Go to the meetings that they go to, and because that's where you'll meet those people. I have a good friend who's very successful financially. He always goes to Davos, the big meeting of the top financial minds and the top financial politicians of the world in Switzerland. Once a year they get together in Davos. And this is the hardest thing to get into. What he did is he just kept asking people until somebody invited him to Davos. When he was there, he applied to come next year, because once you're inside the circle, every year he goes to Davos. He sends tweets and Facebook on what is happening in the biggest financial meeting of the year. And who do you think he meets at Davos? Some of the great venture capitalists. Bill Gates is there all the time, Warren Buffett, Larry Ellison, all the top people. And they start talking. They sit at lunch and they sit around the meetings and they sit at round tables and so on. And they swap yarns and they get to know each other. And he has had doors open for him that have enabled him to just literally make a fortune in investments that nobody else even sees or talks about. Because so fish where the fish are. You can't meet the right people by sitting at home watching television. Number 7, if you only had a short time to live and you could bring about any change in the world, what would it be? This is interesting. It's a great question. When I learned this question, I started thinking about what I would like to do. Almost if you could fly over the world and distribute pixie dust and bring about a change in everywhere where the pixie dust landed, what would it be? Exactly which people would you help? If you could do it, exactly how would you help them? What help would you like to bring to them? And exactly how would you measure success? You know, I have a friend, his name is Steve Mariotti, and about 20 years ago he started an organization called NIFTY, and it's the National Institute for Teaching Entrepreneurship, National Institute, NIFTE, yeah, it's called NIFTY. And now he has taught tens of thousands of young people in inner cities entrepreneurship. And he goes in and he arranges teachers and they arrange classes and they arrange projects, and the projects will be, they take them in the 11th or 12th grade, and they will come and they'll take these classes and they learn about finding products and services and marketing, because his goal, his mission is to help people coming from limited backgrounds to learn how to start and build their own business and be financially independent. So he's very clear. The people he wants to help are young people in the inner cities who don't have a break. How does he want to help them? He wants to train them so that they can fish for a lifetime, that they can know everything they need to know to start a business. And how does he measure success? The number of people who go through his programs every year. Now he's up to 30, 40, 50,000 people a year. He started off with 30 or 40. And just a great guy. That's all he does. That's all he thinks about. And you think he's happy? And the people around him, you think they're happy? They love what they're doing. And when he says to people, join me, as Schweitzer said, come to Africa, join me in this project, people get excited about helping young people become financially independent, make a valuable contribution to society, achieve financial freedom, be substantial members of the community, be good husbands and wives, and so on. So these people within the whole organization nationwide, This is their mission. So, designing your personal mission statement. Well, your mission is to make a difference of some kind. Remember, it does not have to be big. I remember Zig Ziglar talking about a shoe shine boy in the St. Louis airport. And this guy just loved to shine shoes. And when people came to shine shoes, he was cheerful and he was happy, and he would talk to them and he would shine. He'd make so you could see your face in those shoes. And remember Zig going through the airport and him saying, "You got any other shoes in your bag right there? You got the bag, extra pair of shoes there?" He said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Get them out here." So he got them out and he shined those as well. So Zig tells about pretty soon everybody who ever flies through St. Louis is looking for this guy. This guy's got a lineup of 10, 20 people who want to shine shoes. Pretty soon he's hiring new people. And he's got a whole row of shoe shine stands. In a few years, the guy retires, financially independent from shining shoes. Why? It's because he just loved to shine shoes, and he did it with his whole heart. And he was making a difference one pair of shoes at a time. You don't have to change the world. Your mission must contain a method. In other words, how are you going to do it? People say, "Oh, my mission is to bring world peace." Whenever I hear somebody say that, I want to dunk their head in water, because that is a way of having no mission, no goal, no purpose in life. When somebody comes up to say, "My mission is world peace," well, how on earth, unless you are the president of a major superpower that is armed with nuclear missiles and has huge armies and navies behind you, you are going to have no impact on world peace in your whole life. The only people who have impact on world peace are people who have the ability to have world war, and by refraining from doing it. Are you with me? This is not a complicated equation. Well, I want to have world peace. I want to march for world peace. Yeah, you can march for world peace with all the hopeless, hapless losers out there that have no day jobs, all right? But you're not going to make a bit of difference. So it must contain a method, and it must contain a measure. Remember, a mission is something. What do they call the movies with Tom Cruise? Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. In other words, the mission must be accomplishable. You must be able to achieve the mission and go home. And maybe it will not happen, like with Mother Teresa, it will not happen in her lifetime or perhaps ever. But for yourself, you should have a mission where you know you've hit the goal. Like one of our missions, our family missions, was to have all of our children graduate from university. We wanted them all to graduate. That was part of our mission statement because that would enable them to have the confidence and the intelligence and the opportunities so they could do more things with their lives. And we've never lost sight of that in 32 years. We've got 3 out of 4, and Catherine's in her second year at the University of Miami, and we just got her grades today. She's got about a 3.6 average in her second year. In her first year, we never did get her grades. I don't know why that was. But 3.6, she's got several A's, several B's, and 1 C that's going to be upgraded to a B. That's better than I ever got in my whole life. Better than you ever got, for heaven's sakes. An A, you never even saw an A. Unless it was on somebody else's report card, looking over their shoulder. Anyway, you have to have a measure so that you know that you've achieved your goal. So, here's a sample mission statement. My mission is to, and then you write in what you intend to do and for whom you intend to do it. Like I was at a meeting recently, and they were talking about mission statements, and I wrote down my mission statement in its simplest terms is to make people better. That's pretty good. That's good. Then you have to say which people. Then you could say entrepreneurs, business owners, and independent thinkers better, but make people better. And then you define what is better. Better in what way? So what you intend to do and for whom you intend to do it. When you start work with companies, the first question that you have to ask is who is your customer? Who is the person that you are actually focusing the efforts of your business on improving their life or work or some way? You must be clear about that. And by the way, here's a mistake that we make in business is we love our product or service, but we find that we don't really like the people that we're selling to. We don't admire them, we don't respect them, we don't want our children to grow up to be like them, but we think, well, the money's good. No, you really have to care about your customers. Caring is the most important word in business success, is you really have to care about your customers, and they have to know that you care about them. And they can tell. You cannot fake caring. What does they say? If you can fake caring, if you can fake sincerity, you got it made. But you can't fake caring because people know that people are human lie detectors. They know if you care about them or not. Does anybody here go to a restaurant there? They really take good care of you. You go to that restaurant and all the time you're there, you feel happy. because they come up to your table and they're smiling and they're happy and they make you feel like, geez, this is a great experience. I want to come back here again. And then you've been to restaurants where they're indifferent and they don't show up for 15 minutes and they're too busy and they forget your dish or they bring it out prepared improperly. And what you have to do is get out of that restaurant quickly before it collapses, because a couple of weeks from now you'll be driving past and it'll be boarded up. So your mission is to, and then which I achieve by, and the activities you will engage in. In other words, the method. Here's the mission, for whom and what it is, and here's the method. Here's what I will do to achieve it, and I will measure success and the measures you will use to determine if you've achieved your mission. I will measure success by, I will measure success when. Like, for example, Jonas Salk. He had a mission. You remember Jonas Salk's mission? It was to eliminate polio. When polio was one of the most terrifying of all diseases in the 40s and 50s, kids would come down with it. It was incurable. They'd have to be in iron lungs to be kept alive. It was a scourge. It terrified parents, just traumatized them that their children would get polio. And his mission was to eliminate polio. And so he worked and worked and worked, and he came up with the Salk vaccine, and the Salk vaccine worked, and within a few years there was no more polio in America. The Salk Institute now works on other illnesses, especially illnesses that children have, but they set a mission, they set a method, they set a measure, and they achieved their goal. They wiped out polio in America. That is a great mission, okay? And so here's my mission, and I'll just give it to you so you have an example, and then you're going to write your own. My mission is to help people achieve their goals faster than they would in the absence of my help. Now, this seems like a klutzy mission, but I was telling a friend of mine who I worked with for more than 20 years, and he said, Brian, he said, that's been your mission all the time I've known you. It's always the same. Help people achieve their goals. Which people? People who want to achieve goals. People who are ambitious and hungry. What goals? Goals of financial success, sales success, personal success, family success, time management success. Every single thing I've ever done is to help people achieve their goals than they would in the absence of my help, to give them ideas that help them jump the curve so that they achieve their goals far faster than they would in the absence of my help. That's been my goal. So, method, I achieve this goal by teaching essential skills that enable individuals to vastly exceed their previous levels of accomplishment. So they don't just make a marginal incremental improvement, they make improvements of 3 and 5 and 10 times what they ever would have done, and they attribute it to me. They say it was that technique or method that I learned from you in this format. And everything I've ever done, from the first talk to the next seminar, to the books, the tapes, the courses, the audios, the videos, the onlines, the university, the teaching, every single thing I've ever done has been focused on the same mission. Everything I've ever produced. I've never gone off the reservation in a different direction. And the measure, I will know that I'm successful when 1 million people become millionaires and attribute their success to me. My goal is within my working lifetime and within my materials to create 1 million millionaires. And I think from the feedback I've had worldwide, I've already created tens of thousands of them. Sometimes people would just attribute their financial success to one program, one idea, one course. I've had such wonderful feedback from people, and sometimes it isn't that it was just my teaching, it was that it sparked an idea in their mind, and as a result they did something different. And they always remember that that was the spark, is that their mind collided with an idea. And sometimes I said something different. I've had people, I remember giving my Caesar salad recipe. I explained how I learned my Caesar salad recipe by trial and error and so on. And she said, that's me. I'm trying to make a Caesar salad, and I don't have all the ingredients. And she went out and changed her life, and she was a millionaire in 3 years. I mean, she said, that Caesar salad story, she said, that changed my life. I thought, wow. Okay, so now you're going to write your own personal mission statement. Here's the exercise, and you just fill in the blanks. If you look at the blanks that you have here, what you do is you write down the answer to the question, my mission is to, and just write it down. Remember, you can change this with new information. You can refine it. It does not have to be perfect. My great rule for success in life is get it 80% right and then improve it later on. Get it 80% right and run with it. So just write down your mission. What is your mission? It could be, my mission is to make $1 million. That's a good mission. The question is how you plan to go about achieving that mission. So write down your mission. My mission is to, and then I achieve my mission by doing these things. by producing and selling these products, by serving these people, by giving these people greater value than anybody else so they buy from me and buy again. And I will know I've achieved my mission when my business is a certain size and our profitability is a certain percentage and I am a self-made millionaire. In other words, that's how you will know that you're achieving your mission. And your mission can be perfectly selfish. You don't have to be completely selfless. Your mission, if your mission is to build a successful business and generate a tremendous income and be financially successful, if you do it by serving other people, that's a great mission. So please write it out. And then the first step I will take to achieve my mission and complete that.